In the icy winter of 1926, the world woke up in a media frenzy like no other. One of the most famous crime novelists of all time had vanished into the night, seemingly into thin air. Her car was found abandoned beside a quarry. Her belongings were still inside, and her headlights burned into the night. What followed was a media frenzy, a nationwide manhunt, and the kind of speculation normally reserved for celebrities, rock stars, the royal family. Was she kidnapped? Was she dead? Was she escaping something or someone? It's a story with all the makings of a best-selling novel. It's got betrayal, it's got scandal, it's got fake names, it's got sidekicks, and a plot twist that still confuses people to this day, nearly a century later. And at the heart of it all was Agatha Christie, reserved, strategic, brilliant, and most importantly for this story, absolutely furious. This isn't just a story of a disappearance. This is the story of a woman who rewrote the narrative around her. And if you're wondering why I'm dressed as Velma from Scooby-Doo, it's because I thought to talk about the world's greatest crime writer, I should dress as the world's greatest crime solver. And also because I bought this costume for Halloween and I want to get my money's worth. Enter Agatha Christie. Yes, that Agatha Christie. Prim, polite, pen-wielding grandmother of detective fiction. Creator of Hercule Poirot, as well as Miss Marple, my personal favourite. Now what you may have not known, and what no one decided to tell me in my many years of watching and reading anything Agatha Christie, is that she vanished. And I'm not talking she disappeared for a couple hours to go get a coffee. No, she vanished for 11 days. Let me paint the story out for you. Agatha Mary Clarissa Miller was born 1890 to an upper middle class English family. She grew up with governesses, pianos, European holidays, and a staggering amount of tea. A proper Edwardian Victorian upbringing for a little girl. Strangely, her mum didn't want her to read until the age of 8, which is a bit odd. But because of this, Agatha was feeling really understimulated and taught herself to read at the age of 5, which could have been her mum's plan all along, I guess. In 1912, when Agatha was 22 years old, she met RAF pilot Archibald Christie, who was charming, he was handsome, he was dashing, he was good with his words, and Agatha Christie fell hard. Sadly, her mum didn't share her enthusiasm. She didn't really like Archibald because she felt he had a wandering eye and would leave her daughter heartbroken. Despite her mum's concerns, Agatha and Archibald got married in 1914 and quickly had a daughter after called Rosalind. Now, as I'm sure this is a surprise to absolutely no one, Agatha was quite talented with a pen. She started writing short stories in her teens, but didn't actually write a detective novel until her sister bet she couldn't. And well, her sister was very quickly proven wrong, as Agatha Christie just wrote her very first book, A Mysterious Affair at Styles, in 1920. Sadly, she faced multiple rejections from large publishing companies for her first book. But her luck did turn when she met publisher John Lane. John Lane not only bought the book, which is great, but he also commissioned 5 more books, which is excellent. Quickly, Agatha wasn't just writing detective stories, she was reshaping the genre. And by the mid-1920s, she was a literary force. Rich, famous, and respected. Meanwhile, Archie was out there suffering with the radical concept of wife has her own money. Naturally, he coped with this by having an affair with his secretary, Nancy Neal. In his defense, having an affair with his secretary wasn't a complete cliche yet. And he handled this like a complete gentleman by asking for a divorce just before Christmas. Because nothing says holiday cheer quite like leaving the mother of your child for your secretary. Imagine the audacity. You tell your wife just before Christmas, the mother of your child, that you're leaving her for a woman named Nancy. Agatha typed entire novels. Nancy was a typist. To make matters worse, Agatha's mother had only just died. Grieving, humiliated, and heartbroken, she fell into a deep depression and had severe writer's block due to the emotional stress. And she couldn't finish her book, The Mystery of the Blue Train. On the evening of December 3rd, 1926, after what we can assume to be a pretty frosty conversation with Archie, probably including a withering stare and something along the lines of, "I hope you and Nancy are pleased," Agatha packed a small bag, kissed her 5-year-old daughter Rosalind on the head goodnight, and drove off into the night in a Morris Cowley. The very next morning, her car was found abandoned beside a quarry called Silent Pool in Surrey. The headlights were still on, a fur coat and her suitcase left in the back seat. Her expired driver's license left on the passenger seat. Don't drive with expired license. Everyone has flaws. This is Agatha Christie's flaw. Absolutely no Agatha in sight. Now pause. A famous crime novelist disappears, leaving behind a trail of clues. A crashed car deserted in the woods. Personal belongings still inside. Now, are you thinking accident? Or are you thinking opening chapter to a novel she hasn't written yet? Exactly. The country absolutely lost it. The Queen of Mystery became a mystery herself. The police launched a full investigation very quickly, but just as soon as it started, it stopped. It was only 3 days after she went missing, Agatha Christie's brother-in-law received a letter. This letter was claiming Agatha Christie was going to a spa in Yorkshire for some rest and treatment. Just as quickly as the investigation stopped, it restarted, as the police suspected the letter to be fake. The police took this case very seriously. Over 1,000 cops were dispatched. There were 15,000 volunteers doing walkthroughs in the countryside. Aeroplanes were used for the very first time in a British investigation ever to try and find Agatha Christie. Even Home Security got involved. A reward was offered, and the tabloids had a field day. Even celebrities started weighing in their opinions. Among them was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the writer of Sherlock Holmes. Which, to be honest, sounds great, because if anyone could solve Agatha Christie's disappearance, it'd be a fellow detective writer. Makes sense. Only, despite Sherlock Holmes being a very rational, evidence-based sleuth, Arthur Conan Doyle was quite the opposite. In fact, he was knee-deep in conspiracy and spiritualism at this point. He believed in literal fairies. Now, I do have a confession to confess. In the past, I may have judged Sir Arthur Conan Doyle very heavily for falling for the fairies photo. And I was like, "Oh, you idiot. How can you be so smart in writing books but you fall for a fairy photo?" But as of recent, with the increase in AI in our world, I too have fallen for photos occasionally. And so I have a formal apology to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, because photo editing time period was very new. In fact, many people quote the fairies photo to be the very first photo edited image ever. And so I can see why he would have fallen for it. And so this is my formal apology to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I'm sure it means absolutely nothing to you, as you are dead, but I am sorry. But back to judging him, But back to judging Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, he sent one of her gloves to a psychic. Spoiler alert, the psychic found nothing. They also tried to see if Agatha Christie's dog could sniff her out.
Right. With your super sleuth nose, you'll be able to sniff him out.
So they just kind of picked up her house pet and brought it to the quarry to see if it could sniff her out. But at this point, about, 1,000 people had walked through the crime scene trying to find Agatha Christie, so there was a heap of scents everywhere, and this wasn't a bloodhound, this was a house pooch. And also, they were quite judgmental to him. He had a very big task at hand. He had just lost his owner, and he was tasked with finding her in the field of 1,000 scents, and they were judging him. They were judging him very heavily. They claimed he whimpered pitifully.
Come on, Scooby, be brave!
Stop being mean to the fucking pooch! Meanwhile, Agatha Christie's dear old husband and mistress came under very, very, very heavy speculation, due to the fact that if a woman goes missing, it's often the husband, And if the husband has a mistress, that's pretty good motivation, especially since the wife had most of the money. Also, Agatha Christie may have wanted it that way. On December 14, 11 days after Agatha Christie disappeared, a musician at the Harrogate, which is like a swanky spa hotel thing in Yorkshire, recognised Agatha Christie. She checked in there under the name Teresa Neal. Let's appreciate that for a second. Teresa Neal. As in Neal, Nancy Neal, her husband's mistress's last name. Very funny. While everyone was out there stressing their heads off like a headless chicken looking for her, she had spent the entire time relaxing, socialising, dancing, sipping her mineral water, and thumbing through a newspaper about a nationwide manhunt for herself. That's what we call icon behaviour. And a waste of taxpayers' money. But let's focus on the icon behaviour. Also, she didn't completely waste taxpayers' money. Let's not forget the fact that her brother-in-law received a letter claiming that she had gone to a spa hotel in Yorkshire, which is exactly where she is. Now I admit, that letter looked really sketchy. Why did she send it to her brother-in-law instead of her family? It makes it look like they're trying to hide the fact they made her disappear. But they could have sent at least one cop down. You have 1,000 cops and 15,000 volunteers. You couldn't get one person to go to the spas in Yorkshire and just do a walk around? I mean, come on! They could have saved so much time. They could have saved the aeroplanes. They could have saved traumatizing that small pooch from having to find its owner's scent in a field of smells. Well, now they think they found Agatha Christie. Archie was sent to Harrogate to go get his wife and bring her back. When he arrived at the hotel, he found Agatha calmly sitting down drinking a cup of tea while reading the newspaper. When Archie tried to approach her, she gave him a cold stare and looked at him as though he was a stranger. She later claimed that she had absolutely no memory of who she was, where she'd been, or why she was there. Or most importantly, what happened to her. The official story quickly became that she was suffering from post-traumatic stress-induced amnesia from the car crash, as well as personal stresses in her life. But let's be honest. Did she have dissociative fatigue? Maybe. Mental health, especially for women, was deeply under-researched and deeply misunderstood. Some biographers claim it was a trauma-induced breakdown due to her husband's affair as well as her mother's passing. Others say it was an unconscious cry for help, an exit when all other exits were blocked. But if you ask me, it is theatrical genius. This was a woman whose job it was to imagine every kind of murder, every kind of disappearance, every kind of plot twist, every kind of fake name, every kind of outcome. She was the expert on fake identities, sudden disappearances, misdirections. It's not really that hard to believe that she would orchestrate and design her own real-life whodunit mystery. After all, it is Agatha Christie herself that said, "Very few of us are what we've seen." After this episode, she never spoke of it again. She divorced Archie in 1928, good riddance, and married archaeologist Max Mallowan. And she spent the rest of her life travelling the world, digging up ruins by day and writing murder novels at night. Honestly, living my dream. Oh, and also I should mention that after ending her relationship with Archibald, and without all the emotional stress on her life, her writer's block finally left and she could finish her book, The Mystery of the Blue Train. Yay. And speaking of trains, she even completed her lifelong dream of riding on the Orient Express. The Orient Express, the one that inspired her book. And also, the one after that, Death on the Nile, is my favourite Agatha Christie book of all time, so very pleased that that got written. Also, if you like Agatha Christie and you also want to ride on the Orient Express, they currently have a new version, which is like the Orient Express Part 2, and you can ride it now. I think it came out in 2024. I haven't personally been on it, but apparently it's very, very, very close to the old version, so very exciting. Hopefully one day I can go on the Orient Express myself. Agatha Christie lived a very long and impressive and wonderful life. She eventually passed away in 1976, completely in control of her own story. Revered, mysterious, and unapologetically in control of her own mythos. Very impressive. To this day, the 1926 mystery of Agatha Christie is one of literacy's biggest unknown mysteries, which is interesting as no one died, so it's not like the mystery was ever unable to be reached, it's just we don't know. Agatha Christie didn't just write about mysteries, she became one. And honestly, we should all aspire to that level of petty, dramatic brilliance. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the story as much as I do. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye!